Hey guys, just wanted to focus on some things that would be helpful for next year. So these are our last two videos. Today and tomorrow will be the last two videos because the week before the end of school I'm calculating grades, so I'm not going to give videos that first week of June. So these are our last two videos, and I just thought we'd go back over some basic important things because all you juniors, pretty much that's who's watching these now. You'll be in calculus next year, as long as everything's back to school, right? And you'll have me for calculus, and a lot of these basics will be important. Okay, remember finding the zeros. Remember, zeros would mean like the solutions, like where the graph crosses the x-axis. But basically, whatever we get when we solve these. Now remember, if I have this big polynomial, remember that highest power tells me how many answers there are. There's a 4 there. I know it's kind of maybe hard to see from there. That's an x to the 4th. That's my largest power. Remember, so there's 4 answers. So we know that there's 4 answers here. I'm giving you 2 of them, which means we need to find the other 2. And if you remember, when we have this big polynomial and we know solutions, we do that synthetic division. Okay, and I just thought that would be kind of a good way to end reviewing things. Remember, if there's nothing in front of this x to the 4th, I need to put a 1. Remember that? Okay? But remember, the first thing we do is we sort of have that backwards box here. And our first factor, our first answer, remember this, I'm giving you an answer, is x plus 1 as a binomial. But remember, the answer is actually the opposite. Remember, if I set this equal to 0, if I set x plus 1 equal to 0 and solve, I'm going to minus 1 from both sides. So actually, my first factor is actually a negative 1. And then remember, what we do now is list our coefficients. Remember, watch your signs. Positive 1, but that's a negative 2. That's a negative 13. Okay, obviously 14 and 24 are both positive. Okay? This coming back to you? So we have the answer to the first factor in the box. I write out my coefficients. Again, watch your signs. And then remember, synthetic division. Remember, the first number comes down without doing anything. So that 1 will come down. Remember, the box times the bottom goes underneath the next term. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. So negative 1 is underneath that negative 2. Now we're combining. Now, because they're both negative, they'll actually add together to a negative 3. Okay? And then again, box times my new bottom. So negative 1 times a negative 3, positive 3, right? Negative times a negative, positive. Negative 13, a positive 3. Remember, we're going to subtract from each other. Negative 10. Negative 1 times negative 10, positive 10. Okay, 14 plus 10, 24. Negative 1 times 24. Hey, we got it. Remember, the last box is our remainder. Needs to always be 0. So remember, if you don't get 0, something's wrong. Go back, check your steps. You probably just missed a sign here or there. Okay. Now remember, I gave you 2 solutions. I can't really solve this when there's 4 terms. So I'm taking this second solution. Now x minus 4, remember, same idea. If I set it equal to 0 and solve, to get rid of minus 4, I'm going to plus 4 to both sides. So I do another box, remember. I'm going to do a second box. This time with a positive 4 in the box. And I'm going to do the same synthetic division with these 4 terms that I had left over after I did the synthetic division with the negative 1. Okay, pretty much same steps. Okay, the 1 comes down, right? 4 times 1 is 4. Negative 3 and 4 is positive 1. 4 times 1 is 4. Negative 10 and 4, negative 6. 4 times negative 6, boom. We got our 0 again. Okay? Now remember, these three coefficients right here go back into a polynomial, kind of like we took the coefficients off the polynomial. Now 1, 1, and -6, remember, go back into a polynomial. Remember, the 1 is a squared, that second one is just x, and that third one is a -6. Now I'm going to set that equal to 0 because I need to solve this. And guys, remember, this is a trinomial. Now, again, with the last two videos, I'm going to do some of the hardest stuff we had done. But remember, the first thing you want to see is, can this be put into two parentheses? Remember, that's much easier. Can we put this into two parentheses? And again, I'm making this first one, the first video, kind of easier. Yeah, this can go into two parentheses. Now, the second video, you're not going to be able to do the two parentheses, and then you have to do the ABC in that quadratic formula. That'll be kind of a nice way to end the school year. Okay? But remember, if I can, which I just told you could, okay, remember, x squared, remember that 1 really doesn't mean anything. X squared, x and x, and then the factors of 6, because of the -6, remember, the factors of 6 that subtract to make a 1. So the factors of 6 that subtract to make a 1, okay, that's kind of obvious. There's hardly any choices yet. The only thing you have here is 3 times 2. Remember, if I need a positive 1 in the middle, the larger has to be positive, which means the smaller one has to be a negative. And then remember, last step, set these both equal to 0, or we know the shortcut is kind of like we did up there. Whatever's in the binomial, the answer is the opposite. So again, you can shortcut that. So one answer, because that's a +3, is going to be a -3. The -2 is going to make a +2. Okay, so the last two answers are x equals -3 and x equals +2. Okay? So again, you can watch this more than once if you get stuck on your homework problem. I was going to do another one, but I feel like we've got this. And this is kind of a long process. I only have 15 minutes on a video, so I thought I'm just going to show you one of these. Hopefully it came back to you here. So, okay, let me show you the homework problem. And again, just same idea here. Okay, make sure I get close enough so you can see it. Okay, so there's your polynomial. You got x -5 and x + 4 as your factors. Okay, so go ahead and try that, synthetic division. Put your answers in the journal. Okay, and we'll see you next time. Bye.